this information that came out yesterday. This came out
This is
from
Bryan, Masche.
the Danish
Not Real
MAAP
Talk
study.
Show. Bryan,
So what I want you
Masche.
to understand is there's a couple major journals that physicians and nurses read. One of them, obviously the big one that a lot of people know, is the New England Journal of Medicine. The second one that's pretty popular is the Annals of Internal Medicine. And within medicine and nursing, the ultimate, most powerful type of study that you can do is a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study, okay? Meaning that, you're giving someone a placebo, like a fake pill, and you're giving them a real pill. And it's double-blinded when they don't know if they're getting the fake pill or the real pill, okay? So this study is one level below that. It is a randomized trial. It is not placebo-controlled. But the data that has come out in it is actually really powerful, and I think it needs to be shared with everybody, and we need to be sharing this information with all of our friends and all of our family members and everybody we know, all right? I've never once said that this virus is not real. I've never once said that it does not affect people. It does affect certain people. It affects people that are elderly, that are the frail elderly, that are immunocompromised, that have comorbid conditions. However, for the vast majority of the population, 95% of us, it does not affect us in that way. So this information just came out yesterday. This is from the Annals of Internal Medicine, and this is the Danmark 19 study. Danish study to assess face masks for the protection against COVID-19 infection. This was an investigator-initiated, nationwide, unblinded, randomized control trial. So like I said, when you rank levels of evidence, okay, this is like one level below what would be the best type of evidence to look at, okay? So it's still really strong. The trial protocol was registered with the Danish Data Protection Agency, Part 10 of the supplement, and published in 21. The researchers presented these protocols to independent regional scientific ethics committees of the capital region of Denmark. All right, so here's the study. Participants and the study period. So during the study period, 3 April to June of 2020, Danish authorities did not recommend use of masks in the community, and mask use was uncommon, less than 5%, outside of a hospital setting. Inside of a hospital setting, obviously we know that hospitals are places where there are sick people, they're infected, they have diseases, they have things going on. So they were already asking people that came into hospitals to mask up, as well as the hospital staff. However, the general population at the time, they were not under any sort of a mask mandate, okay? So this kind of sets the framework for this, all right? Recommended public health measures included quarantine persons with SARS-CoV-2 infection, social distancing, including shops and public transportation, which remained open, limiting the number of persons seen, frequent hand hygiene and cleaning, and limiting visitors to hospitals and nursing homes. Cafes and restaurants were closed during the study until the 18th of May 2020. So some of the same things that we're doing, some of the things that are different, not completely the same, all right? All right, so we'll get into the actual intervention of this study itself. Participants were enrolled and data was registered. Research electronic data capture software was used, all right? And so they basically broke this study down to 2 cohorts. You can think of it as like Group A and Group B. There were over 3,000 people in the study. The 2 groups were separated in half. One of the groups was basically masked, and they were to wear their masks for any time they were outside of their home for more than 3 hours. If they were outside beyond that, they were asked to change their masks every 8 hours that they were outside. The other cohort, Group B, they were basically unmasked the entire time during this trial, so not wearing masks, all right? The information that they found in this, so they tested them doing 2 different tests, antibody testing and viral polymerase chain reaction testing. So they basically evaluated them 2 different ways as to whether or not they actually did develop COVID-19. So whether it was the masked or the unmasked. And what they found was that hold on one second. Here we go. Sorry, this is hard to read on a phone. So they found that 1.7% of the population that was masked wound up developing COVID-19, or that was unmasked. they found that 2.1% of the unmasked population wound up developing COVID-19. So literally, they found that there was a difference in 0.4%, which was not statistically significant. All right. So if you're in medicine or you study statistics or you're involved in math work, like that unless something is statistically significant, all right, then it doesn't really have any value. All right. The other important thing to look at is what's called confidence interval. So confidence interval means that if you had to run this test 100 times, all right, in the medical world, if you get a confidence interval that's above 90 or 91%, like that's considered really good, all right? That's considered, you could do this test over and over and over again 100 times, and 90 or 91 times out of that 100, you would get the exact same results. So what did they find in this mass study was that they had a confidence interval of 95%, meaning if they did this study 100 times, 95 out of that 100 times, they would get the exact same result, which states there is no statistically significant difference in whether or not you wear a mask or you don't wear a mask. Not only that, they furthermore went on to say, for those that wore a mask, they don't know.
This is MAAP Real Talk Show with you, George Nemeh. We are live, downtown Phoenix.
Where it was at, because they were masking up people that had already been infected, so they weren't actually spreading it to somebody else because it was closed off within the mask, or it was actually they weren't getting the infection because they were wearing a mask. So it could very well have been that the other 1.7% was literally just closing off the virus from spreading out. They don't even know. So what I'm trying to say, for you guys to understand is that there's all this data out there, all right? This stuff continues to come out every single day, and it literally reinforces the same thing, which is we don't actually know 100% whether these masks work or not. However, what we are seeing in hospitals is that the rates of bacterial pneumonia and people that are hospitalized for bacterial pneumonia is skyrocketing. Because what are people doing? They're wearing masks all day long, and they're coughing and they're sneezing and they're touching things and they're touching germs on the ground everywhere they go, and they're touching their face, and their kids are pulling their masks off and they're putting them on, or they're trading them with kids at school, or there's literally just this, germ world that we live in, okay? And by having that mask on, what are you doing? Every time you go to adjust it, you're bringing that mask, you bring your fingers right up to your face. And all that grimy stuff, all that bacteria that lives out there, you're bringing it right up to your nose, bringing it right up to your mouth. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys is a mask mandate is not the same as a law, all right? This is not a law that you have to wear a mask, okay? And people need to understand that, Like, I know people that consider themselves patriots and that they consider themselves, people in this movement that are, fighting for our freedom, but yet they'll still wear masks in grocery stores if they're not sick. And I wonder to myself, like, didn't I see you at this rally? Didn't I see you speaking out? Didn't I see you yelling and screaming? And then you're completely like undercutting what you're doing by wearing a mask into a store. And because you're participating, in this propaganda, all right? Like, I would encourage people, if you're not, if you're sick, wear a freaking mask, all right? Let's be realists. If you're sick, wear a mask, stay home. Don't go to work, don't go to school. If you're not sick, you're not immune compromised, you're not the frail elderly, there's no reason to have to cover your face up like this. Every time I see a little kid going into a store with their parents and he's 3 or 4 years old and he's got a mask on, it literally makes me mad. It makes me angry. I don't like it. I don't like seeing it. Because our kids are being trained basically just to follow orders and not to be independent thinkers, okay? And that's how they wind up controlling all of us, is by taking away our ability to think freely. So I want you guys to look up this study yourself. It's super simple to look at. It's just literally go to Google, type in Danish mask study. It'll be the first thing that pops up. Just look for the keywords statistically significant. You ask any doctor or any nurse or any respiratory therapist, hey, what does statistically significant mean? They'll give you the exact same explanation that I did. And then you ask them, well, if we don't know if it's statistically significant to wear a mask or not wear a mask, why am I doing it anyway? Why is Governor Ducey and Dr. Chris continuing to push this, right? Because it keeps people silenced. Because we know it keeps people silent. We know it's connected to money. We know it's connected to TJ. We know it's connected to this entire conspiracy. It was, I don't know, probably 6 months ago now that Daniel McCarthy and I ran into Dr. Chris outside of the state capitol, and we had a conversation with her, and she basically explained to us that they didn't know what was going on. They didn't really have enough research. They didn't know what the deal was. And then she actually turned to the two of us and said, I think the two of you guys are asking a lot of the right questions. Because I think she wanted to actually admit that they don't know what they're talking about. But she couldn't do it because of the public position that she sits in, all right? So I'm just telling you guys, you go through the grocery store, you go into your Fry's, I go into my Fry's on 24th Street Baseline without a mask, 2 or 3 times a week. When you go in there, turn your phone on, Facebook Live, and film yourself going through the grocery store without your mask on.
That's right.
That way, everyone else on your feed can see that. You want everyone else on your feed to see, oh my God, they're like, hey, look at Sophia, she's walking through the grocery store without a mask on. And then they're like freaking out, going, oh my God, how could she do that? How could she get away with that? People think it's a law. They think a mandate is a law. They don't understand that it's not. And if more people don't start standing up to that, then these masks are never coming off, okay? So let me be very clear. The data is out there. It hasn't been proven that the masks absolutely work.
This guy's assembling a table. That's what all the noise.
Are we getting visitors? Is that what I'm hearing? No, I feel like I'm hearing...
He's assembling his table.
All right, guys. Anyways, look up the Danish mask study. It's out there. It just proves everything that we've thought all along, that none of this makes any sense. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.